Hey everybody. As everybody knows by now, Netflix is looking to buy Warner Brothers. And they've got the top bid, but there's still a bunch of regulatory stuff that I anticipate in the current environment will just get rubber stamped and off it'll go. But this is bad. This is a bad deal. Not necessarily for Netflix. Not necessarily for David Zaslav, who stands to make a boatload of money off of this. But it's bad for us, the consumer, the person who appreciates film and art. It's bad for us because Netflix is just the drizzling shits when it comes to physical media, keeping things, up and available so that you can watch it. They're terrible about it. Never mind the fact that, Netflix is responsible almost solely for turning film and cinema into just content. I mean, this is just, a bad move just on those principles alone. Never mind the fact that no one company should own this much of our own creative cultural heritage. This would give them ownership over, anything for the most part you've seen on Cartoon Network. So all your Hanna-Barbera cartoons going all the way back to the 50s and 60s, they would own all of that. Your Tom and Jerry, all your Cartoon Network favorites, Adventure Time, Gumball, never mind stuff like Smurfs. Looney Tunes, they would own all of Looney Tunes. DC, all the DC superheroes. This is just far too much for one company to own. And a lot of people are falling into the same trap we all fell into when Disney bought Fox. They're all excited for that X-Men movie. X-Men in the MCU. And now you see, people trying to get that momentum going. Well, wouldn't you be excited for an Stranger Things, crossover? No. No. No, I'm not. Because honestly, let's just say they went ahead and did that. Do you honestly believe that it would be of any kind of actual quality? No. Because these people running these companies aren't creative people. They are bottom line money men, and that's it. They don't know creativity. They don't have a creative bone in their bodies half the time. And we're realizing that more and more as we find things out. It's like Star Wars. Boy, why is Star Wars falling off so bad? Well, it turns out that a lot of the creative decisions that people who had been in the film industry on the creative side of things had been, pitching and proposing and things like that, were getting poo-pooed and squashed by Bob Iger, a money man, without one creative, little anything in that little, I have more in my pinky than Bob Iger probably has in his whole body because he's a money man. That's all he cares about is bottom line. So you're going to have another company that is so run by money. I mean, let's be honest. Netflix is notorious for not making money off of their product. What they make money on is blowing up their stock price. And how they do it is with subscriber numbers. The more subscriber number they have, they can show even just a modest little amount of growth. sends their stock price through the roof. This isn't a creative company. Oh yes, they have to engage in creativity, and sometimes they may put out a decent product, even though a good chunk of it is just stuff other people created that they just go out and buy and then slap the Netflix logo on it, like they had anything to do with it other than just buying it off somebody. And we want to give them this much control over our creative cultural heritage? I don't think so. I don't think that's wise. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think that that's going to result in better art. I don't think that's going to necessarily even result in more art. It's going to be whatever they think is going to pump a subscriber number in order to drive their stock price up. And honestly, that doesn't benefit you or me or anyone else. Our kids, our kids' kids, like none of this benefits them. It benefits a very small cadre of people at the very tippity top of the economic structure of this country. But ultimately, it just makes, our lives, the stuff that we enjoy, film, animation, it just makes all of that worse. Because these are risk-averse people. Because they don't want to risk even a penny. So let me know. Let me know what you think. I think this is bad. God only knows what's going to happen to Warner Archive and all the great work that they're doing, putting out, classic films, forgotten classics, Who knows what happens to them? The deal to have classic films on the Criterion Channel, who knows what happens to that now? Turner Classic Movies is at risk. I mean, that's the thing. These guys are saying what will get the merger across the finish line today. You can't trust them. You can't believe them. Because they're just going to say whatever is going to get that merger across the finish line. Because it comes out that they were lying. I've never seen somebody turn around and break a merger up. Because, when they stood in front of our leaders, our senators and Congress people in front of committee, when they're begging to have their merger approved, and they lie through their teeth about how it's going to be great for their employees. 2 months later after the merger, half of them are laid off. Oh, that was great for those employees. Do we, do we go in after the fact? We go, hey, you know what? You said this was going to be great for your employees, and you laid off 100,000 people. So, we're going to break up your little merger there because you lied under oath to get your merger across the finish line. So we're going to break that up now. Does that ever happen? No. So all this talk about how they're going to still do theatrical and they're going to still do physical media and they're going to leave Turner Classic Movies alone and all this kind of stuff. Whoop. They're just saying what they need to say. I mean, it wouldn't shock me. It would not shock me if the minute that Netflix, takes over Warner Brothers to curry good favor with film fans, they let Criterion release Ken Russell's The Devils on 4K just to curry favor with film fans. Because that would be the kind of thing that you would do to be like, oh yeah, no, we're a friend of, the cinema fan. We're a friend of that person. we're going to release this much sought after film that hasn't had a physical release, you know, in this way. You know, come on, you know, here, look at what we did. Ken Russell's The Devils, 4K, Criterion, ooh, Netflix, Conquering Hero. It wouldn't shock me if they did something like that out the gate, just to like give themselves some good press. And then you'll watch as the releases trickle down to nothing. Everything gets shoveled onto Netflix. Until they determine that they need more server space or whatever, and they go, there isn't that many people watching that, so we'll just delete that off the server for now. It's not good, guys. It's not. This is only bad. Prices will go up. Choices will go down. Again, you let me know. Tell me in the comments below what you think. I think this is a bad deal. I think it's bad. Anyway, see you in the next video. Comment below, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff.